start today in Puerto Rico, where the federal government will be covering all Hurricane Fiona relief efforts in Puerto Rico. As we've been reporting, Fiona caused catastrophic damage across the island, leaving more than 1.4 million people without power. Our Francis Felix takes us to the island.
President Biden announced that the federal government will cover 100% of the expenses incurred by Puerto Rico in recovery efforts for the next 30 days after the passage of Hurricane Fiona through the island. Biden led a meeting at the office of FEMA in New York in which he received an input on the conditions in Puerto Rico after the catastrophic damage caused by the storm. This federal funding will cover some rescue efforts like debris removal, search and rescue, works that are necessary to restore water and electricity, as well as shelter and food that locals will be needing during this month. FEMA Administrator Diane Criswell and staff from the agency in New York participated in the meeting, while Governor Pedro Pierluisi also took part in the session virtually from Puerto Rico.
And to the people of Puerto Rico who are still hurting from Hurricane Maria 5 years later, I know that they should know that we are with you. We're not going to walk away. We mean it.
Biden had already signed an emergency declaration for all Puerto Rico and a major disaster for only 58 municipalities. FEMA will give direct payments to those affected for temporary housing and home repairs. Under the declaration, the agency can also offer low-cost loans. In response to the annoyance of some mayors whose municipalities were excluded from Biden's declaration, like the town of Loíza and the Southwest municipalities, a spokesman for FEMA in Puerto Rico, Orlando Rivera, said the list is not final and that in the future it could be amended to include more towns that were impacted. Reporting from San Juan, Puerto Rico, Francis Felix.
All right, thanks so much for that report, Francis. In the meantime, Fiona is now on track to impact the coast of Canada this weekend. Officials are warning of damaging winds, life-threatening storm surges, heavy rainfall, and prolonged power outages, and it may be the strongest storm to ever hit the coast of Canada. Well, meantime, the FDA is now monitoring how Hurricane Fiona might affect the U.S. medical supply chain. The storm has left more than 1 million people in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic without power or running water. The U.S. relies on Puerto Rico for key medical products like IV saline bags, cancer drugs, HIV medications, and blood products. The FDA says it will provide further information as it learns more and will work to mitigate and prevent any potential disruptions or delays in supply. Some companies in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic have said they don't expect Fiona's damage to significantly disrupt pharmaceutical and medical device production. Now, thankfully, the Turks and Caicos Islands were mostly spared from Hurricane Fiona's wrath. Our One Caribbean News' DeAndre Hamilton reports.
North Caicos, Middle Caicos, South Caicos, Providenciales, Grand Turk, all spared what could have been a far more devastating dalliance with ferocious Hurricane Fiona over Monday and Tuesday. Turks and Caicos, an archipelago and one of the Caribbean's premier vacation spots, had to rapidly shift gears to brace all of its inhabited islands for what it thought would be a Category 1 storm. Instead, the islands got Category 3 strength. In the aftermath, debris, rough surf, wet roadways, and some damaged buildings. And for 5 islands and thousands of people, electricity was completely lost. Telecommunications down, and concern high as Fiona wreaked such havoc in Guadeloupe, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Tourism came to a halt with the airport closed, but on Wednesday it reopened, and arriving troops from the British HMS Medway to support reconnaissance and humanitarian efforts.
Because we consider ourselves to be blessed. This storm from the beginning we said was unpredictable. We urge residents to continue to pray for the best and to prepare for the worst. Certainly it has been a challenge, however we believe that we fared off well based on the fact that we have not lost any lives and we have not had any serious injuries.
By Thursday, it is anticipated the country will be back to normal, with schools, banks, hospitals, and government offices also reopened. DeAndre Hamilton.
All right, thanks so much, DeAndre, for that report. Well, meantime, mask wearing in Barbados is no longer required in public generally. Acting Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw announced on Thursday that masks will only be mandatory in schools, healthcare facilities, penal institutions, and on public transportation. She said the decision was taken by Cabinet on the advice of health authorities. The acting Prime Minister said that came against the background of a decline in COVID cases, among other statistics.
In every instance, our numbers are down considerably, providing us with much needed breathing space, both literally and figuratively. Today's positivity rate is at 12%, and 4 weeks ago, it was at a staggering 26%. Consequently, the Cabinet of Barbados that met today has looked carefully at all of the evidence as well as the trends locally and internationally. And more countries we've seen relaxing mask wearing, some even totally removing them. Many have relaxed or eliminated the travel entry protocols, and across the globe, generally the fear of COVID is nowhere near what it was when we first started in this pandemic. Wherever you go today, people have come to the realization that COVID is now a part of their daily existence and they are learning to live with it. And in Barbados, we are no different.
Sorry, I didn't stand by. And in addition to adjusting the mask-wearing protocol, the acting Prime Minister announced that all COVID travel restrictions have also been removed.
Conscious of the direction in which the rest of the world is going as well, effective tomorrow, we will also discontinue all COVID-19 related travel protocols for Barbados. This means that we will be joining 95% of the countries in the Western Hemisphere who preceded Barbados in going in this direction. There will therefore be no testing requirements for entering Barbados, whether you are vaccinated or unvaccinated.